Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of The Kitchen. And as promised, I am going to do a modified cooking demo for one of my favorite recipes, which is my fave, sweet potato ginger soup. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you here. Earlier in the week, I roasted some sweet potatoes and I also did some butternut squash, some carrot, and some other like mini potatoes. I'll show you in a minute. I cubed them all, I tossed them all together. I put nothing on them and they made a great snack. And this is one of the reasons why I love my sweet potato soup is because we're gonna roast. I'm not gonna show you how to cube and roast the sweet potatoes, but you're gonna do that as part of the recipe and it comes out really nice. And if you want to do some additional vegetables while you're roasting the sweet potatoes for the soup, you can kind of get a couple of side dishes or even meals if you're a vegetarian and you want to make it prominent out of that. So why I like that, you can do a bunch of meals at once. So I'm going to add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to my fry pan here. I've already got the heat on it. I'm going to add, probably just under a tablespoon of oil, not that much, just really don't want things to be sticking to the pan. I'm going to use Vidalia onion. They're a little bit sweeter here. We go through a lot of onions here in the house, so I got a bag of the Vidalia onion. And I'm going to show you guys how to cut again. I just pull all the root vegetables out. So I'm going to show them to you and get them out of the way. So I did this. I had the carrots that I chopped up there. I cooked up all the butternut squash, so I can't show you that. The sweet potatoes here, I'll show you when you guys go to roast these, you can peel the skin off a little bit, but I like to leave some of it on because there's fiber and minerals in the skin, and I hate to kind of throw a lot of that away. So I know some people aren't super big fans of having the skin on there, but I like to leave a little bit. When I'm doing this soup, I'll probably take off more of it just because if you've got a really great blender like a Ninja or something like that, won't matter because it'll dice it up for you. But you can leave some of that on for some extra mineral content, especially if you're serving them as roasted vegetables or in another dish. Okay, so you've got the sweet potatoes. I'm gonna stick these off to the side. Mise en place, give myself some room. My Vidalia onions I've shown to you. So I'm going to take my onion here and I'm going to lop off this bottom piece, which is, this is the top here with this kind of straw. This is the bottom part here where I'm going to lop that right off and cut that down. Now, I've talked to you guys before about using the right tool. And I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit. I see my oil smoking over here. And particularly for my onions, I don't want my oil to be super hot. We'll get to that in a minute. Right now we're talking about knife. Just to make sure I didn't burn anything down. So my knife here, it is a bigger, heavy knife because I'm chopping into onion. And if I was going to go ahead and do the potato, I would need my big, heavy knife. If you go and use your paring knife or something small like this, it's going to be awkward and hard, and you're really going to have a hard time getting into a butternut squash or a sweet potato with a paring knife. So this is for smaller vegetables, maybe, the cutting ends off of, maybe a string bean or asparagus or something a little softer and more gentle, more detail for this. All right, so we're going to get our guy here. So I'm now going to cut my onion in half. I'm only going to use a half an onion here. So I just cut it right in half here. Take that one half, put it over here, and I'm going to peel the skin off and just get rid of my onion. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to cut this way, and I'm going to keep my hand this way too. So sometimes you get lazy, you put your hand here. That's dangerous because that's where the knife goes. So the rule is, if your knife is going here, don't ever have part of your body in the way that the knife is going. If it's going here, don't ever have your part of your body going where the knife is going. So we're going to keep our hand up here to stabilize the onion, and we're going to just make one step, one slice, and two slices. This is a fairly small onion, so I'm going to get 3 slices in there. Then I'm going to just cut in the middle and do maybe like 2 on each side of that middle point there. Okay, and then with my claw, right? So my knife is not going to hit that. I'm going to, let's see, you guys can't see that. Let's get just a little bit of a chop here with my big heavy knife. Fingers are out of the way. And now I have a really uniform dice, which is not like, ooh, I got everything uniform. It's so that when you're cooking, things cook the same. You don't wind up with one piece that's a big chunk of something and it didn't cook all the way through, and then something else is smaller and it got burnt up, right? So you don't want that. All right, I'm gonna stick my oil back on the heat here a little bit. I think it's cooled off enough. And I'm gonna throw my onions right into the oil. Here and it sizzle. Okay. So like I said before, when I saw that my oil was starting to smoke, called it smoke point. So when I'm using olive oil, might smoke a little bit sooner than like a coconut oil or an avocado oil. Those have higher smoke temperatures. When it's starting to smoke, turn it down. It's very hot. Okay. For my onion, I want to sweat my onion to get out the flavor of the onion. Oh, did I use up my garlic in my earlier video? I did. Let me grab some. So while you guys are listening to that, I'm going to show you something I did for the first time this week. Is usually I get my a clove of garlic. All right, and I did get one. And I did get one. I have my clove of garlic here, but this week I decided to give it a shot. I bought these kind of done for you garlic cloves. So we'll kind of see how these work. So they're all peeled. You just give a little stir to my onion. And I'm sweating the onion, which means I don't really want it to get like crisp or brown here. I want it to be on a lower heat and then just sweating the flavor out. Okay. I'm starting to get like, I got one little piece in here that's a little brown. So I'm going to turn my heat down a little bit so I don't get any more crispy onion pieces. On that low and slow heat, it's going to release the flavor into the small amount of oil. You get all that flavor out of the onion when you sweat it or you're doing a slow and low thing. Okay, so here's my garlic. I'm going to just kind of cut off that end with the stem piece there. And I'm just going to smash it. The big piece needs a couple of smash it. So some people kind of can, do like a little smear on the garlic here. I give it a good smash. There was a really big piece of garlic there. So I'm going to do some chopping again with my fingers, not in the way of that. Okay. And garlic here, I like it to be small. The more surface area that we have showing, the more flavor we're going to get out of the same. Right. So I want to just cut into this garlic clove as many times as I can. Get that oil out. You can also use a garlic press. If you do it right over your pan. Get the juice from the garlic out here. Okay. I'm going to throw my garlic in with my onion. Okay. So you can always use the back edge of your knife to pick things up too, so that you're not going to slice your hand up, right? So we're just going to keep those going here. So now I've got my onion and my garlic in the pan. It's smelling awesome. Okay, it's a nice flavor. Keeping the heat nice and low, sweating those onions. Gotta say, I do have a few more brown pieces in there than I had hopes for. But it's gonna be okay. All right. So while these are cooking, what I'm going to do, in theory, we're not going to do that bit today, but I'm going to chop up my 3 sweet potatoes and I'm going to stick them on a cooking sheet and I'm going to put them into the oven. I'm going to let those roast. Okay. So getting my flavor going, I'll roast up my vegetables. Once my vegetables come out and they're nice and soft, I'm going to combine my onions and my roasted vegetables into a bigger stock pan. So I'll use something like this. And I'm going to heat my broth in this pan. I'm going to add all my yummy flavors here. In theory, probably could have done my onion and garlic in this pan so that I don't lose any of that flavor on the transfer. So you can do that if you're doing that at home. I just didn't think of that today. Put your broth in here, and then you will finish cooking your sweet potatoes. They should be fairly cooked from the oven. put them in here, kind of get them all break down in here. And you can take an immersion blender, or you can take your mixture from here after you've cooked it for about 5 minutes and put it into like a Ninja blender, something that will blend hot and get a nice consistency. You're then gonna add, and here's another caveat. You're gonna add coconut milk, and this one, I don't typically get this one. And I didn't. It's reduced fat. That's why I go full on fat for these. But I think I was making a recipe a few weeks ago and I didn't know if I had any coconut milk, and I asked somebody to swing by the store. And I think because they think I'm healthy, that I would have wanted low fat, or they just didn't know and they grabbed this one. So it is reduced fat. I typically don't use that. I use the full fat for the coconut milk. And I pour it right into the blender and mix all of that. And then I put it right back in the pot to keep it nice and warm. You can top it with some hemp seeds when you serve it in the bowl. Will look nice and pretty. But really, it's quite that simple, and you have a nice soup. You can do a very similar soup with butternut squash, and that's also quite yummy. I really just roast the butternut squash, put the garlic and the onion, and mix it up with little coconut milk, and it is delicious, delicious cream soup. So enjoy. Thanks for joining me this week on this episode of The Kitchen, and I hope you get to try all the soup, and I will include the recipe so you guys can all have all the ins and the outs of the recipe, so you don't have to go flying back through the video. This is more about like, it can happen. It can happen. And practice your knife skills if this is something that you're not accustomed to doing. I want to make sure that you're practicing those. The more you practice cutting, the less annoying it becomes. So practice those knife skills, because I feel chopping is therapeutic for me. But also, if you can chop vegetables, and then all of a sudden you just got access to a whole bunch of more healthier things for you. All right. Enjoy, guys. Thanks for joining this episode of The Kitchen.